Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and it's time for the Gameweek29 tier list video where we're going to rank a bunch of the most popular transfers that you guys are making right now on a tier list to see which ones are kind of good ones to go for and ones that maybe aren't so much. So guys, if you do enjoy this content, please do leave a like, please do subscribe if you're new around here. Back to regular content this week. Looking forward to it. So let's get stuck in. Alright, as always, the 30 most popular transfers in at time of recording are going to go on this tier list, and we're going to start you off with Virgil van Dijk. I'm going to put him in the optional category. He's got a double game week against Chelsea and Man City, and whilst I don't think these are amazing fixtures, certainly against Chelsea, you can see a clean sheet possibly there. Liverpool have really improved in defence in general at the moment. I think people need to give them a little bit of credit there. This is an improving situation, and we've got more double game weeks on the horizon for Liverpool as well. So, in general, quite like Van Dijk. I don't love him. I think he's an okay option to go for. I'm sure a lot of people would prefer to go for Trent Alexander-Arnold, maybe Robertson if you want to try and get those more regular attacking returns. But Van Dijk is fine. He's okay. So I'm going to put him in optional, not quite an avoid for me. João Felix, I'm going to put him in the avoid section just because his numbers are just not very good. Like, he is a very good player. He's brilliant to watch. But in terms of taking those shots on and creating for his teammates, it's not always been there. Chelsea are not a team that score a lot of goals, and their goals are spread out quite a lot as well. And in general, João Felix has just not been a player who's been on the end of too many big chances. So you can look at the double game week, you can look at future fixtures that you might like the look of, but at the end of the day, we've got to pick the right players from Chelsea if we are going to go for Chelsea players, and I just do not feel like Felix is the man. Also, we know that Chelsea are not going to get a double game week for quite some time now, so we're probably looking at game week 37 before we see another double game week beyond game week 29 for Chelsea in general. So I don't think they're as much of a must buys as they have been previously, and again, we do want to be going for the right players from their team. Blanking game week 32 as well, which is never ideal, unless you're free hitting, in which case, who cares? That's all good. Next up, we've got Steele. So he has become the new main man in goal for Brighton. I'm not really too comfortable putting him really any higher than this. For me, I would say he is high tier optional. He's definitely not an avoid. He's definitely a player who is an option for us. But what I worry about a little bit with Brighton is that I want to pick the best players from Brighton. Brighton are really going to be the key team to pick from between now and the end of the season. So we want to make sure that the Brighton players we are going for are the best possible Brighton players. And I don't think Steele is that, because he's only going to have a limited amount of points available to him. He's kind of a low ceiling player. If Brighton concede a goal, then he's pretty much not going to get points. We don't see Brighton, make many saves too often just because they don't actually concede too many chances, which is great for clean sheets, but not much else. Also, do worry that Sanchez is going to come back in between the sticks at some point between now and the end of the season. So I don't know if Steele is necessarily a long-term player to own either. And like I say, you don't want yourself blocked off. If Steele, stops playing for Brighton, we do want to make sure we have the availability to go for some other Brighton players. So I really do feel like I do prefer the other Brighton players a lot. That's not to say Steele is a bad pick. At that price, you can't really go too wrong. But just in terms of looking after your Brighton slots, I feel like Steele is probably not the guy I would like to go for. Next, Kieran Trippier. I'm going to put him in the great transfer category. I feel like even though Newcastle do seem to concede a lot of goals, their underlying numbers are still really good, which kind of suggests to us that clean sheets are on the horizon. I know that sounds like really difficult to say. People often, they look at, are a team keeping clean sheets, yes or no? That makes them a good or a bad defence. I do try and look at things a little bit more detail, and I do feel like there is going to be opportunities for Newcastle to keep those clean sheets. They've got West Ham in the double game week. That's definitely going to be an opportunity for clean sheets there. So Trippier, with his attacking ability as well, his creativity, I think is a great transfer. If you don't have him yet, I would really, really strongly consider bringing him back in right about now. Fabian Schär is next, and I'm going to put him slightly lower. I'm going to put him in the optional category. I'm not sure, even though I do really enjoy the fact that Newcastle look positive in terms of future clean sheets, I'm not so confident that I'd want to be doubling up. And if I'm going to go for one Newcastle defender, it is going to be Trippier. I would not really want to double up. And if I am going to double up, I'd much rather go for someone like Botman, who is significantly cheaper than Fabian Schär. It's not to say that Fabian Schär is a bad pick necessarily. I just don't know if I'd want to be going in too much on the Newcastle defence right now. Manchester United in the double game week, for example. So we're not guaranteed clean sheets or anything like that. But I just think in general, Newcastle players are okay players to pick. I don't know if we want to overcommit to them right now. I did previously kind of have a different opinion on this because I was of the opinion that we were probably going to see a Newcastle double game week in 30 or 31. That's looking really, really unlikely now. So we're probably actually looking at the next Newcastle double game week, which will be against Brighton. That's probably going to be around game week 35, 36, one of those 2 game weeks. So we've got a little while to wait. We don't need to rush in on those Newcastle players right now if we don't want to. And it's just kind of an option for you. If you want to go for it, fine. You don't have to, though. Ben White, I'm going to put in the avoid section straight away. I know that's kind of sounds a little bit controversial. Arsenal doing very well at the moment. I just think there are better defenses to pick from right now. And remember, guys, these tier list videos are about making transfers specifically for the game week. So we're game week 29 right now. So these players, I'm ranking them on whether they are a good or bad transfer to bring in, not if they're a good or a bad player to own long term. And I feel like later on in the season, I think we definitely need to be looking at Arsenal's defense right now. But I think in general, a lot of people will actually be looking to move out Arsenal players rather than move them in. And that's not to say there aren't still a few good players from Arsenal you can pick right now. I just think in general, we want to focus on double game week teams. Obviously, Arsenal have a single game week against Leeds. It's a decent fixture, don't get me wrong, but Arsenal are kind of dropping a little bit in terms of the table, in terms of their defensives. Their defensive numbers are not amazing right now, and that's despite some fairly kind fixtures as well. So I do wonder if Arsenal are going to continue to concede goals, and I'd much rather go for some more hard-hitting players. In game week 29, we want to go for high-ceiling players, mostly double game week players, and those single game week players, we may think about getting them in later down the line, but I don't think we necessarily need to be going in on them now. So Ben White, I'm going to put him in the avoid section. Cody Gakpo, I'm going to put down in the avoid section as well. Not a huge fan of this pick, to be honest. Chelsea and Man City, both away, are Liverpool's fixtures, and it's pretty much as bad as you can get in terms of 2 fixtures. When you're an attacker, they're pretty much the 2 worst fixtures you can have. Brighton have been doing well defensively as well, but certainly Man City and Chelsea have been really, really high in the table of best defenses recently. So therefore, do we really want to be going for Cody Gakpo? I'm not really fully convinced by this one. I think maybe some other Liverpool attackers who are, more reliable, even if you can even call any Liverpool attackers reliable this season, I guess, then maybe I'd slightly prefer them. But at the same time, I feel like now is not the time to bring in our good friend Cody. I feel like it's just not the moment. Like, it was a bad double game week for him, and there's some other midfielders with some really nice double game weeks that I perhaps prefer to go for. Next up, Raya. I think he, again, is probably going to be an option. I don't think he's a must-buy or anything like that. I think there's probably moving forward. Yes, Raya was very nice as a kind of a goalkeeper to go for a couple of weeks ago. If you were looking to target both 27s double, 28s non-blank, and 29 another double game week now, which is obviously what we're about to see. If you're kind of buying him for that period of fixtures, then I think that was a very good idea. But in general, going forward, I think there are going to be some other goalkeepers that I perhaps slightly prefer to have. The likes of De Gea, maybe Nick Pope as well, maybe even Kepa, to be fair. So there are a few other goalkeepers that I think I just slightly prefer to Raya at the moment, which is what puts him in the optional section. I don't think it's a bad pick. I just think just not the perfect pick. And I feel like we're all looking for that perfect pick in game week 29, aren't we? But we're going to put him there. Next up, Ben Mee, going to put him in the avoid section. Another player I think probably we're going to be looking to move away from some of these Brentford players in general. Raya's very nice because he makes saves, but Ben Mee, you're just looking for clean sheets, really. And I'll be honest, the double game week for Brentford is not particularly good. It's not particularly good, so I'm not really too bothered in general about Brentford players. Again, I think they were great to pick up a couple of weeks ago for the period, but we kind of passed the best time of that period, I guess, and now there's a lot of other options that are becoming available to us. So Ben Mee is going to go down in the avoid section, plus he is far too expensive. Ethan Pinnock and Rico Henry are better picks, really, for a cheaper price, so I'll just be going for them. So there you go, into the avoid section. Harry Kane, I don't think I would be buying him right now. Like, this is probably going to be the lowest I'm ever going to put Harry Kane in any of these videos, and next game week I'll probably put him straight back up higher again, but he doesn't have a double game week, so am I going to buy him? Probably not. We know what damage he can do, though, so I feel like certain single game week players I would at least consider. I guess Harry Kane would be one of them. Like, if I was on a wild card, for example, I would perhaps have a Harry Kane in that wild card team, which I have made a wild card video, by the way, guys, a couple of days ago, so do make sure you go check that out. But yeah, Harry Kane, I just feel like he's not an avoid, is he? Like, let's be honest, he's not an avoid, but we're probably not going to be buying him this week. If you don't have Harry Kane already, you're probably not going to buy him this week. I have Harry Kane right now. I love him as a pick. I'm very glad I have him in my team. If I didn't have him right now, would I be buying him? I don't think I would. I guess he's an option, but I don't think I would. So I'm going to put him in the optional section. I'm going to put him right next to Steele there. Havertz I'm going to put in next. I know he's ill or whatever, but I wouldn't worry about that. Havertz I think is probably going to go. Again, it's not the perfect double game for Chelsea, but it's not bad. Like it could be pretty. It could be a lot worse. I think it's fairly decent. So I feel like Kai Havertz, as a player for Chelsea, was actually getting more chances to score. He's on penalties as well. I feel like I'm happy to put him in a good transfer. I'm not quite great transfer, but we're going to put him there. I like Havertz on penalties. He's doing okay. His finishing is never going to be amazing. Like, let's be real. But he gets a lot of opportunities, and sometimes it's just a numbers game. De Gea up next. I think he's a really good goalkeeper to go for right now. If you're going to go for a goalkeeper, as someone who still owns Sanchez, De Gea is kind of one of the first players on my kind of wish list for replacement goalkeepers, so I'm going to put him in the good transfer section as well. I think the one question with De Gea is whether he's blocking off other Manchester United players that you might want to buy, so maybe that's something you need to consider before going in on De Gea. But I think he's certainly a good transfer, and I really like this double game week for Manchester United. Their 2 fixtures. I think this is a really good opportunity for possibly 2 clean sheets for Man United if they can get back to their good defensive ways, and I know they can. Very good team. I think it's going to be pretty good. Chilwell, I think, is probably also going to be a good transfer, so we're going to put him in there. We've spoken about him a lot recently, so I won't go in on him too much. Tyrone Mings, a great value for money, so I think he needs to go in good transfer at least. But again, is he heavy hitting enough for us to go for him in a double game week like right now? Probably not. If you're on a wild card or a free hit, then absolutely, Mings would be a player who I'd be strongly considering. But if you're just making that individual transfer, I don't know. I just wonder whether... I don't know, you just want that player who's going to get you those regular, a player who at least conceive of a world where they get 10 points or more. Can't really see that from Mings, not too often anyway. Gabriel, probably not going to buy him either. I think he's a better option than Ben White just because he has that really nice attacking threat from those set pieces. I'm going to probably put him I don't know, here. A player I'd like to own in the future. Don't think I'd be buying him this week. Watkins, really like this transfer. Doing really well at the moment. And not only does he have a great double game week this week, but also plays against Nottingham Forest in game week 30 as well. So you get him a really good player who's in really good form at the moment. Incredible underlying numbers. Pretty much the best underlying numbers you could possibly get. Actually finishing his chances. On penalties as well. And you get 2 really nice game weeks out of him. Possibly could have bought him last week. I think if you bought him for the period of 3, that was even better. But for now, I think we're going to put him still for a great transfer now. I still think he's a really, really good pick. Toney, not so much. So, yeah, Toney, 1 yellow card away from a 2-game suspension, which is just not ideal. But, we know what Toney can do. He has that power to get those mega scores. Like, he is that focal point for Brentford. So I'm going to put him in optional, but he's just so high risk that I'm not comfortable putting him any higher than that. 1 more yellow card and he's gone. And also, the double game week isn't amazing for Brentford. The fixtures after the double game week aren't amazing for Brentford either, really. Got Newcastle in Thursday. And, there's still this looming issue of whether Toney is going to get a ban for the gambling stuff as well, which just don't ask me what's happening with that. I don't know. I wish I knew. There's going to be some kind of hearing next month. I don't know when that's going to be exactly, and I don't know what the result of that's going to be, whether it's going to be delayed even more. Anything can happen. I think we just got to play that a little bit by ear. Martinelli, let's just stick him in optional. Would probably not be going for him this week, but look, I still think he's a really good pick to go for. Incredible value for money, and I think he is going to be pretty nailed on. And I think when Jesus comes back to the Arsenal starting 11, like on a more permanent basis, playing it as a striker, I think it's really going to benefit Martinelli. We saw at the beginning of the season, the link up between Martinelli and Jesus was just so good, and it was really allowing Martinelli to thrive. I think that's going to continue to happen beyond the break. So a little bit of risk for rotation with Trossard now in the squad and doing very well, but at the same time, I think Martinelli is still someone who should be on all of our radars. I'm going to put him below Harry Kane though. Saka, I'm going to put above Harry Kane. Still going to put him in optional. In terms of a player to own, amazing. In terms of a player to buy, I don't know. Yes, he did really well in Game Week 28, but that was kind of atypical. We don't see that too often from Saka for him to go on an absolute mad one, but he definitely has the ability to do so, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of it from him in the future. But on a single game week, I feel like I'd rather go for those doubling players. Maddison, I think most people will probably put him in great transfer. because he's got two really nice fixtures and he is clearly the creative driving force on that Leicester team. But for me, he's not taking enough shots, particularly not from dangerous areas. So I'm really looking for midfielders who are going to score me goals, and I'm not so sure Maddison is that player. Harvey Barnes actually has a better XG numbers than Maddison in a similar amount of minutes. So I know a lot of people would say he's a great transfer, and I do understand why. I definitely understand why. But is Maddison a player I'd like to own long term? Probably not. I think he plays Man City in 31, I believe, which is not a great fixture for him. There's not going to be any more double game weeks or anything like that. So you really are buying a player for this game week only and hoping he is the star of the show. I have no doubt he can do that. But I feel like I have to drop it down to good transfer. I know you guys are going to hate me for that as well. But yeah, we don't shy away from a bit of controversy on the FPL Mate channel. Let me know what you think about that, guys. Where would you put Maddison personally? Do you think I'm being a bit harsh putting him in good transfer? Do you think he's a great transfer? And do you even think he's a must-buy? I think, to be fair, a lot of people, you guys will probably even say he's a must-buy. So I'm going to bump him up one level. I'm going to bump him up one, but he's not going any higher than that. He's going to go bottom of great transfer. I think he is, don't get me wrong, a very decent pick. If I'm on a free hit, I'm picking James Maddison. If I'm on a wild card, I'm probably picking Maddison as well. Not definitely, but probably. And I think that's what puts me off putting him any higher than that, because those of you guys who are just on regular transfers, and that's going to be most of us, the vast majority of us, I think we're probably... I don't think you have to buy Maddison. He's a good option. He's a great option. He's not a must-buy. Salah, next up. Let's put him in... I think the thing is that we've got the future of more double game weeks, the nailedness of Salah, and the penalties as well, the lack of blanks. Even though it's a terrible double game week for Liverpool in general, they are Liverpool, aren't they? And it is Salah, which I think makes the difference between him and Hakpo, is that he is Salah. So for the long term, he's a really good pick, I think. So I'm going to put him in good transfer. I'm going to put him right here next to Mings and Chilwell. I mean, I feel like how the mighty have fallen. We're putting Mo Salah between Mings and Chilwell. Can you imagine if I said that, 6 months ago? You'd call me crazy, but here we are. Maybe you're still calling me crazy. That's kind of up to you. Right, finally, we're going to put some players that are going to be really, really high on this tier list. I'm going to put McAllister. I'm going to put him... I think I'm going to put him in the must-buy category. I think, honestly... he would be one of the first players I'd be thinking of buying if I didn't have him already right now. I think he is captain material. I think the fact that Brighton have got loads of double game weeks, as long as you can cover yourself for game week 32 where Brighton blank, we have got so many double game weeks for Brighton. It's pretty much going to be a double game week every other week for the rest of the season for Brighton. And McAllister is just that ticking metronome, creating for his teammates, taking so many shots on penalties, on some set pieces there as well, taking the free kicks. There is just so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity for this, remember, World Cup winning attacking midfielder. You know, say less. Brighton's still very heavily competing to get those European places. Champions League is possible for Brighton. It's almost within their hands. And they're not really going to be rotating. This is the biggest ever season for Brighton. Probably ever. I don't know. Maybe there's some people old enough to tell me that I'm completely wrong on that one. But this is huge. And I love McAllister. I think he's a great FPL pick. So I'm going to put him in must-buy. Maybe that's some bias because he's in my team already. Maybe. I don't know. He's in my team because I love him. So, yeah. Look, he's going in must-buy. Deal with it. Pervis Estupiñán. I think he's a really good transfer as well. I think he's so important to the way Brighton are playing. I'm really jealous of Estupiñán owners. I think he's just doing so well. He's playing so attacking on that left-hand side. He's so crucial to how Brighton are playing. And, if he continues to play... then he's going to get some decent points as well. I think with that Bournemouth fixture, I think there's a real opportunity for a clean sheet in this double game week in particular. The only small concern is, the fact that he's coming back from Australia just before the international break. But I think he should have enough time to recover and be ready for the big double game week 29. So he is going to go in a great transfer. But coming off the Brighton players very, very briefly before we dip our toes right back in, we've got Erling Haaland, who after the blank game week, a lot of people are looking to bring him back in. I think that is an option, so I'm going to put him in optional. Would I even put him in a good transfer? Possibly. If I'm going to buy... if I'm going to buy one of Erling Haaland or Harry Kane this week, I'm going to buy Erling Haaland, let's be honest. Liverpool are, like I say, an improving defence. And I don't think, a lot of people have been saying, You know, Erling Haaland, you know, he scored all those goals before his blank. You know, he scored all those goals, you know, in kind of European competition, for example. And they're really kind of hyping him up right now. I think he's going to absolutely destroy Liverpool. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I can't see, you know, yes, I can see Erling Haaland getting a hat-trick in that game. There's no game on earth where you would say that there isn't a chance on that. But you can also see Erling Haaland blanking against Liverpool. I really can see that. So it goes both ways. I think he's a good transfer. He's definitely a player that you're going to want to bring back in pretty soon. But the fact that he doesn't have a double game week and his single game week is not against the best fixture that you can possibly have, I think that does put me off just a little bit. So he is going to go in good transfer, no more, no less. Luke Shaw, like this one. I think I would probably prefer to go for Luke Shaw than De Gea, but I feel like for me, I have to deal with a goalkeeper situation, so it might force me to go for De Gea. But I feel like Luke Shaw, if you can go for Luke Shaw, I would go for him right now. I really like Manchester United's double game week for clean sheets. I really, really do. So double clean sheet possibility. Let's see what you can do. Having that attacking threat as well. So Luke Shaw is going there. Marcus Rashford, he is going up here as well. If you don't have Rashford, you should. Most people have Rashford. Most people didn't sell him. But if you did sell Rashford recently because he blanked, get him back in. No more needs to be said on that one. Bruno Fernandes, I think he's a great transfer. I think his price and the fact that he may lock you out from potential other moves. You know, if we're looking to get Erling Haaland in the future back into our teams, if we're looking to get Mo Salah back in the future for his double game week in 34, for example, and Liverpool have a decent double game week there, I feel like maybe Fernandes can either be a route to Salah, or maybe he could be a player who's actually blocking you off from getting Salah or Haaland or whoever else. So yes, he's a great transfer, but he does come with a couple of minor setbacks, which prevents him from going in the must-buy category. But in general, on penalties, creative force for Manchester United, nailed for 90 minutes every game. There is certainly a lot to love. Casemiro back soon. You know, that's going to hopefully push Fernandes back forward a little bit. Eriksen as well coming back is going to help with that one. So in general, Bruno Fernandes, he's a great transfer, but he's not quite touching the likes of Rashford and McAllister, who are goated. And we're going to put a player even higher than McAllister right now. Yes, guys, I'm going to put Solly March here. Or am I? Am I going to put him here? I don't know. I went into this video thinking I'm going to put March number one. I planned I was going to put March as the number one must-buy player for this game week. Now I actually wonder if McAllister is the better pick because those penalties are just so tempting. But yeah, I think March is more... he's more nailed on in his position, but I think McAllister's pretty nailed on in his position as well, to be fair. March is a little bit cheaper. March's creativity is better than McAllister's, but McAllister's goal threat is better than March's. March has been getting more massive hauls this season than McAllister, but maybe that's because McAllister hasn't spent enough time in this advanced position. Yeah, this is just going to be a case of whichever way your agenda runs is whichever player out of these two you put higher. I'm going to put McAllister as the better pick than March, but there's not much in it. There really is not much in it, so we're going to put him there. And we've got two more players on this tier list, and I know these players. This is where the arguments are going to start, guys, in the comment section. I look forward to hearing some of your thoughts and some of your reasoning behind where you would personally put these players. But let me tell you where I'm going to put them, and then you can let me know what you think about that one. So for the first one, and these are the two most popular transfers in, is Alexander Isak. And I am not going to put him in must-buy. Even though he is super popular, I'm not going to put him in must-buy. I'm not even sure I'm going to put him in great transfer. For me, he is treading the line between good transfer and great transfer. But I'm going to put him in the good transfer category. So we're going to put him there as a high-tier good transfer player. The reason for that is because, one, I don't massively like the Newcastle fixtures. Man United and West Ham, these aren't mugs. These teams aren't mugs. These aren't teams that you're just automatically going to score against. Isak has looked very good, but what we've seen all season is that when Wilson is available, he is the main striker for Newcastle. That has been a real consistent thing. We've seen Wilson unavailable or coming back from injuries or illnesses recently, and Isak has really taken his chances and looked amazing. But there's basically two ways of looking at this, and that's, do you think Isak is, playing so well that Howe is going to reward that, which is something that he does, or is Howe going to actually stick with his tried and trusted players and not rotate? Which is another thing that Eddie Howe really likes to do. He likes to stick with the same team, and he has his favourites. He has his preferred starting 11, which does involve Wilson. Is he going to change that? I'm not sure if Isak in a double game week is going to play both fixtures. I can see him playing one. I don't know for 100% sure if he's going to play both. And the fact that they're two not great fixtures, you know, both are, you know, above average defences in my opinion, both West Ham and Man United. And the fact that we may see rotation, and the fact that we've got no more double game weeks coming up in the near future for Newcastle. The fixtures after aren't amazing. They're okay, they're not amazing for Newcastle. I just wonder if we need to get Isak. Is it worth the risk? And that's going to be on you. That's why I think he's a good transfer. He's a good risk to take. I think he's definitely a good risk to take. But he is a risk, and I don't think, because of that risk element to him, I don't think we can put him any higher than that. Let me know what you think about that. Newcastle fans, I'm sure you will have different opinions. I've had different Newcastle fans tell me very different things. Some saying, yeah, Isak, his good performances are going to be rewarded. Other Newcastle fans are saying, no, Wilson, you know, he's the main man. He's the main man, and Isak will get minutes, but he is always going to be limited with how many minutes he can get as long as Wilson is still at the club. So make your mind up on that one. Is there an opportunity for them both to play in the same team? You know, it's been spoken about. We haven't really seen it so far, though, so I'm not really sure. But, yeah, don't know. Finally, we've got one more player, Kaoru Mitoma, and I'm going to put him in the great transfer category. Yeah, his numbers are really down. And I know he has been scoring FPL points, but I feel like that's kind of glossed over the fact that he's only sort of taking one shot per game. He's been playing much wider than we've perhaps seen before. Not had as many opportunities to cut inside. Even his creative numbers. Yes, he's got a few assists recently, but his creative numbers recently are it's kind of like 1 or 2 key passes per game. It's nowhere near the likes of March and McAllister. So it does, although, and I'm really talking about last 5-6 games maybe, although it does look like McAllister, March, Mitoma are kind of all on a kind of fairly even playing field. And let me be honest, I like all 3 of these picks. For me, a gap has started to be created. In terms of those numbers, when you watch these players play as well, a gap is starting to creep up in terms of, you know, the difference between McAllister, March and Mitoma. And I know people aren't going to be happy with me saying that because a lot of you guys own Mitoma, but the numbers say everything. Like, we're all watching the same games. We're all looking at the same numbers. I can only sit here and kind of comment on what I have seen in the games of football and the numbers that I've read on the spreadsheets as well. I know football is only like played on spreadsheets to a degree, mostly played on grass, but still, I gotta follow my instincts on this one. When it comes to my videos, I gotta speak my truth and speak what I am seeing, and this is what I'm seeing, and that is a small gap is forming between McAllister, March and Mitoma. A small gap. They're still all amazing picks, and I really still do like Mitoma, and I would even consider tripling up, but I still think McAllister and March are better picks, and I will not be budged on that one quite yet, unless things change. Things do change. So there you go, guys. That is 30 players on the tier list. We've got a pretty even spread this week, which is quite nice to see. Hopefully this is going to help you with some of your decisions when you're trying to build that bench boost team potentially. But a lot of these players, particularly those guys at the top in the must buys, I would try and get all 3 of those players if you can. The great transfers, I would definitely be looking to bring the great transfer players in as well, if you can, of course. Below that, I feel like we've got to go in on the best possible players this game week. We've got the biggest double game week of the season. This is exciting times. Let's make some decent plays. Let's get some must-buys. Let's get some great transfers. Some of these players still slightly differential as well. Let's have some fun with it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here as well. Let me know what you thought of my picks today. Did I rank any of them well or very badly? Be interested to hear some of your thoughts. But we are going to leave it there. Buy, sell, keep, avoid coming tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But until then, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.